Welcome everybody to the Dropped Kickoff podcast for this week. As you can probably imagine, it's a bit of a dull blade today. We don't have any Queensland fans among us who kind of
not yet.
Just kind of went out for a stroll. But for the rest of us Australian fans who played this weekend, it's all pretty. There's an air of misery hanging around us. I'm here with Nick and Nathan. Say hello quickly, boys, because I've come on here with my shotgun loaded. It's not much of a shotgun, maybe a Kurt Cobain sense, but to talk about the Waratahs. But boys,
Jesus,
straight from coming right off the coming out swinging. Holy shit!
Sorry, boys.
I was gonna make this lighthearted, be like, look, if anyone watching on YouTube, I've got popcorn ready to go because I don't.
Yeah,
know
I know.
I mean, I can start that again. I'm sorry.
No, you've got it. Yeah, you've lied. You've made that bed for yourself up, and now you fucking lie in it.
Okay.
I'm locked in with my popcorn right now. Fire away, go.
Well, I'm not as opposed to like shooting it in the air in celebration. You know, like when Homer's got the marketing idea for the bowling alley. You know, as opposed to that kind of shotgun blast.
Mate, I was going to say, let's come out with the shotgun blast. Can we change the name of the podcast this week, as requested by Hugh Tyndall, to the Knocked Back Knock On?
Yeah.
Like, I actually think
it's your time to shine.
Oh, shut up! The Waratahs are
one round at a time.
Yeah, 1 round at a time.
Yeah, order.
So before we begin, we probably should be a bit professional about this. Not that we do get paid. But on the weekend, last proper round of Super Rugby before the finals, before the weird finals where the Blues or the Chiefs get a chance to choke twice. But we had on Friday, bloody hell, I can't even remember now. Cut this
Mate,
out.
I've got it here.
He got too drunk after Saturday night.
He got too drunk. It was the Highlanders played the Chiefs, and then the Brumbies played the Crusaders. Decided who decided the top three.
Okay. Chiefs saw at the Highlanders. They finished top. Brumbies, Crusaders won at the end, and we'll talk about that. We'll get to that. And then on Saturday, Blues demolished the Waratahs, 46-6. The Hurricanes demolished Moana Pacifica, 64-12. And the Reds also demolished the Fijian draw, which actually, kind of a neat bow on the Super Rugby season. It was really tight at the start of the year, and it just turned into a mess at the end, like it always does, it seems. But, we haven't played the first Bledisloe game yet, so hope is still there until it recovers from about, August to January. Anyway,
it does feel right though that like the final round finishes with 3 massive blowouts. I just want to say that it just kind of felt right. Because honestly, it actually has been a really fun, enjoyable.
Well, you
season.
could even say the Chiefs blew out the Highlanders because they were up.
Well, at least the Highlanders put up a bit more. The Highlanders still scored 20-something points. Like they made a game of it.
That was like 17. It was like 17-0 after 12 minutes.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. This is true. But it does feel right after how I was waiting for that round, if you get what I mean. Like the round where like all bets are off. It had been so close for so long and teams would just blow the crap out of each other out of the water. And it was the last round. That's how long we needed to wait.
Yeah, fuck. And I've had a beer, finished my first beer for this this rant. But yeah, sorry, just self-pitying. So the table has ended Chiefs first with a points difference of 231. Crusaders second. Brumbies third. Hurricanes fourth. Reds fifth. And Blues sixth. And I'd just like to point out that the Blues, Moana and the Waratahs all had 6 wins this year. But the Blues had 9 bonus points as opposed to the Waratahs 2. So daggers there for everyone. Anyway, let's kind of get into the rant. Let's talk about the Waratahs first because the last time we get to be able to talk to him until I compare them to.
Look how fucking
Brumbies of the
happy
very
Nathan
latest
is. If you're on
Nathan
YouTube,
sings
look
all Michael
how
Jackson
happy
popcorn
Nathan
out.
is looking. He's like giddy.
Nah,
You
let
are
him go.
giddy.
This is great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just
There's
No,
nothing.
look. Another year, another. Oh, we've got to rebuild. Another year starts out kind of promising, and ends out like in a heap, in a pile, worse than Dan McKellar found it. I fear, or at the start of the season. I really just don't know where to begin. The whole squad is a mess, and the whole team is a mess. And it's the same mess for the last 20 years. Not 20 years, it shouldn't be like that. Feels like it though, except for when Checker came in and turned things around, and no one learned any lessons from that. Couple players just not performing around the park that I guess should. Not that I really want to get into who's not and who is. There's been holes, as Hugh Tyndall said on Twitter, there's holes in the roster, and there has been for years. So we're hearing that Matt Phillip will be coming back for next season, which will finally have a proper lock. The one of the best players of the year was a guy who got told by Joe Schmidt, you're not playing the Wallabies if you go to France, which is Lange Gleeson. We've had a few bright spots. Him, Gordon, Kellaway, I'd always put Kellaway there, Swiley, Angus Bell. Can't really think of much more. Jorgo before he did his ankle. The attack was shithouse, except for brief moments when it was fucking amazing. The Chiefs game is it's just such an anomaly, when you tell the funniest joke of your life, you didn't even mean it. You thought it was a serious statement. The defense was all over the shop, and look, for good reason. The centers was a mess. And I'm thinking as well the halves are a mess. Anyway, the centers are a mess in defense. So, and they've all just met each other. So defense is fine. Like I can get around that being a mess. Set piece, nothing to crow about. We're talking about our boy Taniela Tupou pre-game. I mean, I'm not sure. He holds up the scrum. His replacement, Daniel, both are like I don't know. He's a penalty magnet when he comes on. When Taniela is on, he's a pot plant. Just sticks around the scrum. That's about it. But I don't really want to get too stuck into him. I think he's got enough. There are no power runners. I mean, you got Lange and Swiley, and when they're off or not on, there's no one's getting over the game line. The 10s, we have 3 10s there. So to roll back, the Waratahs have bled. Nathan, you might have to help me here. Ben Donaldson and who's guys going over to Japan?
Will Harrison.
Will Harrison. They've bled them, and we're stuck with Tane Edmed, Jack Bowen, and Lawson Crichton, who are all decent, all have their pros and cons, and almost cancel each other out like scissors, paper, to rock. At least I give it for Jack Bowen. He's young, and he still might come good. The other only bright spot, Teddy Wilson. I thought, young Bolt coming in. But speaking of Teddy Wilson, above him is Jake Gordon. Jake Gordon wanted to go to France last year, and he stayed back for fucking this. Can you believe it? The squad's a fucking mess. The team's a fucking mess. We were being held up at the start of the year by Jorgensen, of all people, the winger, playing like Brian Abana and pulling us into games, just playing his own game out there. Remember that chip try he scored against the Force, or maybe it was a week before. I don't know what the fuck's going on. This is a waste of time, waste of everyone's time. And you might be described as a rant, but I'm just too sad now. I was in full rant mode on the weekend, but I just really don't know where to fucking go. But can you believe it? They beat the Brumbies and the Chiefs.
And that's what we should hold
I don't know.
ourselves on.
And also, sorry, the thing I forgot to mention as well, no Gamble, right? I've never been a huge Gamble fan. Good player, good level Super Rugby player, right? That's it. But when he wasn't injured for a couple of games, there is no threat at the defensive front. No one else knows how to jackal for the ball or disrupt it. It's except for Violano, but who's injured most of the year. It's just a fucking mess from top to bottom.
I will jump in with some, again, positive thoughts. Like, it was an improvement on last year. Like, winning, only beating one team twice the entire year. Like, I think we went in, again, hindsight's one more thing, maybe slightly unrealistic expectations that everything was going to be sorted like straight away.
Yes.
I think what this year has proven, and Demikel basically alluded to it after the Crusaders loss, is there's bigger issue than just the players on the field. That it's not a case of New South Wales doesn't have the talent, and New South Wales has always had the talent. It's got the best pathways coming through. You know, again, school level, it keeps winning. It's been consistently the best under 16s team at Super Rugby Australia level. Also, 19's been up there. So, talent's not an issue. There's just issues within that place that need to be fixed. That everyone needs to be working on the same page and the same to sort of same beat. Look, it didn't help their case that their director of rugby, Simon Raului, was absent for majority of the year due to illness, and my understanding is that role will be sorted in the next couple of weeks, probably with someone else that can come in and stabilize the ship. This is, again, unfortunately, this was the year the Waratahs needed to have. It needed to have this year to show that it's not all about just signing the best players and signing the big names. Otherwise, we would have had a top 4 team here. It's all about getting the system right.
I feel that's every fucking year, though.
No, so
I think this year is particularly different just for the name quality. I don't remember, like, name me a year where they've had. Let's rattle off these names. Sawali will play Wallabies. Tupe will be in the 23. Leota probably would have been in the 20. Probably would have been in the Wallaby squad if he was fit. Kellaway will be in the 23 for the Wallabies.
Yeah.
There's again, regardless of how much this season has damaged the Wallaby Soaps, there are genuine 5 or 6 test quality players that came into the side. I don't think you can make that argument for any other year the Waratahs have had, and they did not make a difference, or they did not make as much of a difference as everyone thought. This is, I think, again, the biggest proof. And again, the joy about Demikel is he is honest. He will tell it how it is, and that's the first time I've seen a coach come out and be like, no, there are. No, the coach, Jake Gordon, said these quotes that the issues are systemic in the place. Think about it. Your captain said that. I think this has finally been the time. Like, sure, we've seen this in past years, but I haven't seen the honesty within the players and the coaching staff themselves that there is a problem. And it needs to be solved in the off-season, like I have over the last couple of weeks.
I'll add my little 2 cents in here while I can, because...
Suck shit. Suck it up. Get fucked.
Look, if you're going to be like that, first of all, I'll say for every Force, Brumbies, and
no, that's you. That's what you're about to say. Put Nick Hartman's rant into your veins and keep it there. But what I really will say, a rant. It was more like, what's a sad poem called?
So it's more like Eric Cartman after like that whole situation with the guy who like he kills
salty
his parents.
tears.
Yeah, the salty tears. That's what it is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Salty.
Yeah. But no, like I think that the Tahs have ended up where I thought they were going to end up personally. Like on Nathan's point, like this is not 2024. This is not. Like, I think people, and I think this is, honest to God, an indication of a lot of Tahs fans that I know, and I don't want to view this as like a generalization, but when the Tahs play well, everyone is fucking in hook, line, and sinker, convinced that they're going to win the title. And it comes from this idea or headspace of like, because New South Wales produces so much talent, of course we're going to win the damn thing. But the issues as Nathan alludes to, these are going to take years to fix, and years for that team to get cohesion. In my head, if I was always of the opinion that if the Waratahs made finals this year, they were overachieving. They were ahead of schedule. Like, to be in contention going into the last round, I would not be disappointed about that at all, particularly with the amount of turnover that you had and the extensive clean out that you had with the previous year. I think the problem is that so many Tahs fans, they saw those 5 or 6 wins on the trot and were in hook, line, and sinker. Whereas the reality of the beast is that, yeah, you can win a couple of games at home and get up a rhythm, but like, you got to go. There were anyone who looked at the schedule could see that wasn't where the Tahs were going to, really offer the contention. It was going to be in the latter half of the season. That was the easiest start to the season of any team in the entire competition. I reckon that win over the Brumbies is critical. That win over the Chiefs is critical. Those results are critical. But I mean, like, it's amazing how quickly the pendulum can swing. I mean, 6 episodes ago on this podcast, you guys were fucking laying in saying about how good it was. You were. It was
pretty fucking good. It was.
Yeah, you were good. Fucking. Yes, you.
No, never.
Look, no, I think Nicks is a bit sensitive. Nick went a bit bananas after the Brumbies lost to the Tahs.
Look, and to that point, I will say, like we said at this time, you have to enjoy those wins while they come. We had to enjoy that period while we can, because the reality is we knew this was coming. So I enjoyed a win for once.
You need to take this approach. I think that's so silly. You need to take the approach of, like, it's a great win, enjoy the win, but also be grounded in it. Like, sometimes you're not going to be the best team, and sometimes you're not going to. No, you were fucking hook, line, and sinker into that fucking shit.
Just everyone. Why would I be rational? What Nick's saying here for what he's about to say when we talk about the Crusaders game. Let's just bookmark the fucking zen. You gotta be zen about it, boys. Just take it.
Wait until we get there, my friend. But in answer to this question, like, I understand why you're upset, and I get why you're upset. But honest to God, the Waratahs won 6 games this year. They lost 8. Yes, they didn't pick up a lot of bonus points. Yes, it's not perfect, but if they had won that game in Auckland, they genuinely would have been a shot at making the top 6. Genuinely would have been a shot. So, like, we're talking about a difference of 1 or 2 games here. For considering that you finished with the wooden spoon last year, I think that progress has been made, and it's even better that McKellar is telling it like it fucking is, because it is. The issues at the Tahs are so considerable. I mean, from the outsider looking in, it's so considerable. It's not going to be turned around in 1 year. You've got to allow this coaching staff, as brilliant as they are brilliant. They're excellent rugby folk, and also the players, excellent rugby players. This is the sorts of problems that are not going to be turned around in 1 season. It's not. So I wouldn't be disheartened if I were you. But there are great wins in there.
But okay. Couple of things to unpack there. I guess we'll start from the back. We don't know what the problems are. They haven't been named. Is it shit culture? Like, what is it? These things haven't been named. So to solve these problems, it's still up in the air, systemic. But what the fuck is it? Is it the private school cohort wanting little Johnny to be picked? I know.
It's never the private school. Like, every team has private school. Let's get that. No,
straight. But I mean,
I just love Nathan's look there, just like, the fuck.
I hate that excuse. Everyone throws it out when we're all private school fuckwits that play rugby.
No, that's not. Sorry, that's not what I meant. I meant the. Fuck, I don't know. I'm too tired for this shit. Like, just power imbalances. There's people in power who exercise their power, right? And don't and.
The best way that
to the detriment of the team to get whatever they want. It's just politics, basically. Is it that politics and the complacency and the fucking, I don't know, navel gazing, narcissism, neuroticism, whatever the fuck it is. I want little Johnny to play. Because I know there are several, and it's kind of the nexus of that. Is that what's going on there? But no one's named it, right? And I know of players brought up in New South Wales who don't want to play for the Tahs at all because they just hate. They want to stay 1,000 miles away from that.
Look, let me to raise a couple points. I mean, firstly, people stay away from that for the fact that you are under the most pressure as well. And the reality is, I think what Dan McKellar put it best again a couple weeks ago when he said there are too many people comfortable just wearing tracksuits, which I think I can elevate into the point of there are too many people just comfortable being a Waratah, wanting that status of just playing for New South Wales instead of going on and doing bigger things and winning titles. That's what I think he meant by that. And that's part of a culture.
I'm not across what he said, to be honest. So, yeah.
That's basically what he said. But
sorry, nothing going. Sorry.
And I think he's the man to change that. I think what he's realizing now, or what the coaching staff is realizing, is, as we said, these are issues that can't be solved. Like, I think it's the exact same way as like what the Broncos are in the NRL as well. A big name club, a club that gets a lot of hype, but all of a sudden just can't deliver the results despite having such a stacked roster. Does that come with the pressure of being the biggest club in a state like that, like the Waratahs are? Probably a little bit. But again, you're right. Things need to change. There needs to be more hunger around the place. There needs to be, I don't know the answer. Same way the Broncos don't know the answer right now. I don't know what works for them. I don't know if it's McKellar's going to be harder on him. I don't know if, because it seemed like a fitness was there this year at certain points. They would just clock off. I don't know how you solve this issue. I think it needs to come from the players first. It needs to come from, I think the one thing which I did sort of pick up that hasn't been discussed enough is the idea of it being led by some of the younger players. I've said sort of there's a lot of older voices that are sort of starting to speak up, but I don't think it's happening enough from the younger players to actually set that example and be like, all right, I know I'm here as a Waratah. I'm sure that's great, but I'm here to win a title. I'm not just here to wear a jersey.
Yeah, I think there's definitely, like, my feeling is, and when I talk about the private school kind of thing, what I was trying to say there was there's a very Sydney attitude of, oh look, I've earned good money. I live in this beautiful harbourside town. I've won the lottery. Why do I have to change? Like, why do I have to work hard? And I think, I'm not saying that's necessarily players, but that's definitely the kind of cultural attitude that Sydney has. If you compare it to other cities around Australia, you look at, the Queenslanders or the Melburnians and a lot more parochial, and people from Sydney are like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. And I think that kind of is a negative impact on a team like the Waratahs. That would be my I guess, broad supposition. But the second thing I also want to talk about too, very quickly, and people probably get bored of the Tahs, is talking about finals. So, Nick, you're talking about getting into finals, and it's not really about getting into finals. For me, I don't want my team to just scrape into the finals, because rugby is not like a game like soccer where you can win on a whim half the time. Like, in rugby, the best team wins, 95% of the time. And the Waratahs just haven't played that well all year. Like, they played really well against the Brumbies and the Chiefs, like amazingly well, and just kind of got by in the other games. They definitely got by against Australia on the Highlanders, which are the first two games. So that's kind of what my lodestone is. And also, you say, yeah, got to rebuild, blah, blah, blah. There still needs to be a standard set. And they're just not hitting that standard at all. And it's just like, you gotta be fucking harder on these guys.
Yeah, so this is what I think needs to happen. I reckon, like, we're talking about a culture shift. I reckon, like, if there are guys out there, guys in the Waratah squad who are like, I'm so happy to be a Waratah, it's time to knock them down a peg or two, because like there is, unfortunately, like, there is so much you can aim at. If people are genuinely like resting on their laurels of thinking about, oh, we're the Waratahs, we're part of the Waratahs side, like that, and that is as the extent as to the effort that you're going to go. Well, get some stuff that really will piss them off, like I can give two straight off the bat. You're the Waratahs are the most underperforming side in the entire history of Super Rugby. All the talent, all the stuff at your disposal, and yet you only have one goddamn title to your name is not acceptable. And then secondly, you're not even the best Super Rugby side in New South Wales. Give that to them. Let them know you actually need to be. You have to earn it. You actually have to earn. Yes.
Wait, what do you mean?
If you're from a state that has.
Yeah, Brumbies are in the ACT.
Here is that,
oh no, the Chiefs.
And also,
because they're Western Sydney.
But Brumbies represent ACT in Southern New South Wales. I mean, heck, that's their catchment area, and they play in Wagga and stuff like that. But my point is that you actually need to, if you're going to talk about the whole idea of the culture of the Waratahs and being a state with a rich history, it's not something to get on your high horse and earn about. It is a responsibility you have to actually to live up to. It is something that, like, the entire reason why the Crusaders succeed so well is not that because we're the Crusaders, we're awesome. No, it's they are under pressure. They have a target on their backs, and they know that if they don't perform, people are going to come after them very, very quickly. You saw it in 2024 when the side was underperforming. Like, there are still people calling for Rob Penny to be sacked on their social media, and he's coming, and the side's coming second. Like, that gives you a sense of how intense the pressure is. If you are someone who is in the Waratahs side, it is saying that you are a member of the Waratahs is not a privilege. It's not an enjoyment. It is a responsibility. You have 150 to 200 years of rugby history behind you. Play like it, because that is who you're representing. And I feel like that is the culture shift that significantly needs to happen if the Waratahs are going to get anywhere. It's a problem that has plagued them for years. And frankly, I'm not even a Waratahs fan, and it pisses me off. It's how bad it is. So, guys, recognize that you have to live up to that. It is not, you are just, again, it kind of goes back to a point that Nutter makes. You are just one part of that club. You are one part of it. Make sure that what you put into that club is something that is going to be remembered and included. It is not a privilege to be a Waratah. You have a responsibility to that jersey.
You tell them that.
It took the Brumby to cook for us. Jesus Christ. And you just nailed it. You absolutely nailed it right there. Look, yeah. Ultimately, I think they've got the right people in place for change to happen. But we've said this so many times before. So, again, I will believe it when I say it. I will take the improvements of that it was this year. And, I think 4 extra wins than what they did last year. And I'll keep my expectations high that they improve 4 more wins next year as well.
Oh, yeah, and
I believe they will.
I guess I just want to add as well, I don't want to put any pressure on Dan McKellar, except for, anything I'll criticize him for is chopping the fly halves for no reason, it seemed. But I don't want to put pressure on him because I really don't think the issue is the coach. Rob Penny, you just mentioned, there's his scientific test.
Yep.
So can we now talk about teams that are actually winning?
Yeah, we can.
Oh yeah, like the Brumbies.
The Reds played pretty well on the weekend.
Which one do you want to do? Which one do you want to do first? Come on.
Get your Brumbies round out of the way. Let's go.
Yeah, go on, mate. Go on.
Yes. So look, okay. Like now, in typical fashion, I'm going to. You guys are all like, he's gonna rant. He's gonna rant. No, I'm not, because let's be honest. Let's call a spade a spade. No, I'm not. Don't worry, you'll get some colour. The Brumbies were not good for the majority of that match. Let's call this, like, the first half, the Crusaders were all up in terms of the physical battle. They were all over it for most of that match, and the Brumbies had to kind of fight back and play. They didn't look very good, to be 100% honest, in that first half, and they had to kind of fight their way back into the game. But that they did. And I think it really goes to show it's Bobby V. Bobby V, that is the sort of performance that really goes like, oh, that's why he's the current John Eales medalist, because the dude like single-handedly turned the tide of the physical battle and really started to open up things in the latter half of the game. to the point where the Brumbies got themselves back into a winning position, which I think really shows the growth of the Brumbies this year. What I've kind of been really impressed about is their ability after losses to really turn things around fast and really come out with a statement of intent that I think has kind of been missing from previous kind of iterations of this side in previous years. I mean, the losses to the Force and the Chiefs, and they then suddenly go around and break a 12-year drought against the Blues at Eden Park and stuff like that. And I think that this match really is gonna probably set a marker for them, because I'll know they'll be hurting after that. But let's go to that call. I mean, you know it, I know it. It was dog shit. It was. I'm not gonna. I mean, people are saying that apparently there would have been hands in the ruck, which means it should have been a penalty to the Crusaders anyway. I am not convinced. Nathan, you might.
Can I back you up here? I agree with you, Nick. It looked like he was falling over to me.
It's definitely a knock on. Like, it is definitely a knock on.
Oh, no, sorry, the Brumbies
people can make the argument about the camera angle, but, like, seeing where the ball is in proportion to the 22, like, it's definitely a knock on.
No, I didn't mean that. I meant the hands in the ruck that people were saying. At the same time, from the Brumbies player. I don't think he was hands in the ruck. I think he was falling over genuinely.
Also, more importantly, that's how it was officiated the entire game. The entire game, that they were... Again, we're very liberal around what you get away with the breakdown. So the precedent had already been set that you could essentially, like, if you're in an incident like that, they weren't going to call it. But you're right. Like, again, it's a frustrating note that, like, the Timo is there to help officiate these games. And yes. I think the Timo actually came in and said that they ruled it backwards,
which is insane to me. How?
Well, it reminds me of that. I'm going to jog my memory. Which year this is? That game against Wales. And when there was like the bat down, there was like a bat down, and it sort of everyone had stopped, and old mate from Wales ran away and scored. I think it was 2022 because Dave Rennie was still in charge. And there was like two of those incidents where play basically stopped, and they just went, "Oh, yeah, it's gone backwards." It's one of those ones where you bring science and physics into it, maybe it's gone back, but like everybody that's watched the play would just be like, no, it's gone forward. And if that gets called forward 99% of the time. That's where the frustration lies. And hey, you could probably say that maybe it looked worse because of the momentum of him falling backwards and all that stuff, and the ball stayed there. The problem that people have is the fact that gets called 99% of the time. And look, as Australian fans, we are saltier than usual when it comes to these type of calls because we feel like we cop a lot of these calls. Again,
critical point. Yeah, critical points. Like, I mean,
now we play.
Yeah,
Raynal, the French. There's another F word I could throw in there with French that I'm not going to. And people quick to throw out the record around James Dolman as well. I think it's 1 from 16. I think I looked up the first.
Apparently I've seen 1 from 19.
I went through and counted Super Rugby Pacific, and it's 6. It's like 15, 16. Yeah. Again, penalty count being 8. I think the Hurricanes got the first 8. Sorry, Crusaders got the first 8 penalties, something like that. Like, there's history behind it when it comes to this, which already had people on edge. But look, the reality was the Brumbies on the night just took way too long to get going.
Yes, I agree. So I'm in kind of in a mixed headspace about this game, to be honest, because as much as I'm pissed off about that call, and I mean, like, people are online are going to be pissed off about that call. I think the call, personally, from my own opinion, is incorrect. And yes, of course, that is tinged with being a fan, but also because I'm looking at the evidence in front of me and going, it looks forward to me. It looks quite clearly forward from the angles that we have been presented. But at the same time, I mean, for half the game, I don't think the Brumbies played very well, and the Crusaders were the better side. So I can't, and maybe it's the fact that I'm, stubborn prick who will similar to All Blacks looking at a 40-6 win over France or something, we'll go, oh, there's things we can still improve on. Maybe in that headspace, I'm like, yeah, well, the Brumbies, they need to actually earn the right to have that win. And frankly, but they only spent, it took the second half for them to actually kick into gear. Against a team like the Crusaders, you can't really afford to do that. It's just frustrating to me that this, it looks even worse when you consider the fact that this call effectively had a top two placing on the line. It is critical in terms of the context of the season. It's a potential home semi-final for an Australian side. And Australian sides haven't had a home semi-final, I would probably argue, since 2014, when the Waratahs had the home semi-final against the Brumbies. Would you agree with? I think that's a deep, like, in terms of, because I remember the Waratahs made the semi-finals, but they had to go to South Africa, I'm pretty sure.
Look, Nick, what you've learned, again, I'm trying to do the maths of how long it is. You've learned from me being your boss, and remember that, by the way, is I can't do math. I can't work out. Like, we sat down trying to do the finals, and I think I got a migraine. So trying to work out when the last finals one was.
Yeah,
again, 2014 sounds about right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 2014. Yeah, 2014 was the last time we had a home semi-final, which really gives you a sense of how significant it is for an Australian side, given we don't have a good record in New Zealand at present. But look, records are still maybe broken. The Brumbies could potentially still actually earn a home semi-final. It's not outside the realm of possibility, but it would require now for a Crusaders or a Chiefs to slip up in their qualifying final, which is basically you're relying on other results.
Can I intervene here, Nick, on your Brumbies rant? So I think like the margins in professional sport in a game like this are so fine that even you talk about the Brumbies didn't pick it up, the Brumbies still stormed back, right? And you're allowed to do that. You have 80 minutes to play a game. And the fact that like this knock-on happened, and there was a lot of shit going on. I missed the first half, and I watched the second half. But I remember at about the 70th minute, was it Havili or something? David Havili or something. He entered the ruck and he kind of span out the back of the ruck and was kind of still holding on to a Brumbies player, slowed the fuck down the ruck, and then next ruck, Crusaders got to turn over. And you kind of go, the dude just, went beyond the ruck, wasted all this fucking time, don't get a penalty, play on. And then because you're playing on, which is okay, cool, technically a penalty, but still got the advantage. But they get themselves in vicinage to pill for the next ball. Then you go, actually, no, hang on a minute, it was a penalty before. Like, I can't. And that happened all fucking game. And it was happening. And look, it's not the point where the Waratahs lost, but against the Blues. The Blues they would just lie all over the ruck, right? But it was all just like, you can't fucking call it. They're doing this to their own advantage, but you can't call this exact thing. And whether that's the referees being too easy, whether it's the Australian teams being not smart enough to pick up on it and go, I don't think it's the line.
I don't think it's either of that. I think it's Havili realizing that the ruck is a dog's breakfast and he could effectively get away with anything. It's just, I think it's simply engaging. I think it's just in simply engaging in the dark arts. Yeah. And conversely, and I can't think of a specific similar example off the top of my head, but I did think the Brumbies did pick up on that as well, and I think that also contributed to them, kind of realizing that the ruck was effectively a dog's breakfast.
But the funny thing with the Dolman games is the players get really frustrated, and you can always see that. And if you go back to this knock-on, like I think the knock-on, and Paul Cully made this point, is if it was called, the Brumbies would have just done an exit, got the scrum, done an exit, and the Crusaders would probably be in a similar position again. But where the Brumbies fucked up is they had possession at the end, and they didn't even try to go for the drop goal.
They should have. They should have gone for the drop goal. Yeah,
and
that's probably what you can see more on the Brumbies.
Like, we forget that Curry Tool beat 3 players, and if it wasn't for the work of Scott Barrett, he goes in and scores. Scott Barrett makes an unbelievable tackle to force that ball loose. Like, Curry Tool, probably 7 times out of 10 scores there because he beat his inside man, beat the covering dude, and was about to gas whoever else was coming. And we can all sit back and say, oh, they should have gone for a drop goal. But when they created the chance to win it, the Crusaders just have big.
But like you said, 7 out of 10. Should they have gone for a 7 out of 10 chance? I'm just saying, could they
7 out of 10 passes in most places. If I'm a 7 out of 10 good looking, that gets me into a lot of places. That's all I'm saying. Saying as someone who definitely is a 7 out of 10.
Oh, don't put yourself down, Williamson. Don't you dare.
Yeah, that's what I was going.
But no, look, honestly, am I pissed about the loss? Yes, because it means that we potentially lose out on a home semi-final. It's still not outside the realm of possibility. I can see the Blues asking a lot of questions this weekend of the Chiefs. They're a very good side, and they seem to have got their mojo back in the last couple of weeks. I can see, it's not outside the realm of possibility necessarily. But really, I think if you're a Brumbies fan, it's a fuck up. It's a fuck up, and the fact that they took too long to start is frustrating. But the fact that they also came within winning it, and then you get a clearly blatant fuck up by the TMOs like that, again, in my opinion, just makes it worse. I think it's purely optics based, and it's just so frustrating that it came with a top 2 spot on the line. It's only going to add to the anger that a lot of Aussie fans feel.
I mean,
at critical moments, one fuck up costs.
Hopefully,
Australia
it's a huge G up for the Brumbies this weekend.
That's what
we're going to play the Hurricanes, who are probably the informed side. Maybe them or the Chiefs, you'd have to say.
I definitely would agree.
And beat the Brums in Canberra. So, if it's a G up, that's the juice that the Brumbies would need.
I'm slightly worried that I actually think that the Canes are more likely to potentially go for a win. Like, it will get up if the results from the previous 2 games. The fact that it's the last game is more interesting. If the Crusaders beat the Reds and the Chiefs beat the Blues, then effectively that match in Canberra is a dead rubber, because the Crusaders have earned their home semi-final. The Chiefs have earned their home semi-final as the top 2 teams, and the 2 lower sides in the Reds and Blues are out. So that effectively decides. The only thing that the Canberra really decides is who goes to Hamilton and who goes to Christchurch. That's only and I think that in that situation, the Brumbies, I'm worried the Brumbies might be a little bit complacent and go, well, we already know that we're in for a semi-final, and it's a case of who do we think that we can beat on home turf.
Let's talk about semis. I've never been in a situation where there've been 3 semis.
Do we want to mention the Reds?
Quarterfinals, they're calling it. It's not.
Do you want to mention the Reds?
Yeah. Okay. So the Crusaders, the Dirty Crusaders, are playing the Reds at 5:00 on Friday. I guess the Reds beat the snot out of the Drua. I mean, anyone surprised?
No.
I'm sorry. Tries in the first half. Hey, man, someone scoring 4 tries in one half deserves a mention. Shout out Lockie Anderson.
Yeah, Lockie Anderson.
Okay, Lockie. Shout out, Lockie. Good on you.
Like, they were. In all seriousness, that's a game the Reds have made look way harder than it needs to be in past. The fact they came out there and not only smacked them, but when the Drua scored, or basically looked like scoring the first try that second half, I was thinking, Jesus, all right, foot off the gas. They're gonna get. This is gonna be too close to my liking with 10 minutes to go. But no, they came out and just blew them out, which was great. Again, just what you need for a trip to Christchurch.
Yeah, and I also think that they were really off for the last 2 weeks, the Reds were. I mean, I think that, they didn't play their best game in Canberra. And I think that game against the Hurricanes, I mean, hell, I can relate. Brumbies lost to the Canes as well. But, they didn't play their best rugby. And I was a little bit worried that they might have been preoccupied, God forbid. I mean, you don't want to fall into the optics of Les Kisser because he's a professional coach, but obviously he's now also got other things to consider going forward as the new Wallabies coach. But lo and behold, I shouldn't have worried because, these are the games that the Reds should be putting away, have got the talent to put away, and if they are to be genuine title contenders, must put away on the regular, and they did that very, very well.
So speaking of title contenders, because they're playing the Crusaders, last time they were there, they lost 43-19. That was such a weird game. It was the typical Reds never went for a penalty goal kind of game. They just kept trying to run it Michael Checker style out from their own try line.
They're half. They're on half.
Yeah, but worse than that, mate. Worse than that. How do we think this will go? I'd like to think, Leskis, goes, all right, come on, boys. Time to play the game.
He's much quieter than that.
This is on the flight over.
It's going to be rough for the Reds on this 6-day turnaround compared to Crusaders who have an extra day of rest, which is, can I just say, pretty silly. It's pretty silly we've come to this because now Harry Wilson's racing the clock. There's a couple others, with anyone with a knock is in big trouble. Look, I think the win last year, even against a pretty mid-Crusaders team, gives you hope that, again, a whole bunch of players know how to win in Christchurch, which we haven't been able to say in the past. This Crusaders side is very good. I think if Will Jordan's back for him, that's a problem. But, yeah, I think if the Reds on the day, the question is how many of their injured guys are still going to be out? Because that's the big summary for the Red season.
Who's injured from the top of your head?
Oh, it's bad. Hang on, I've got it here. Wasn't there 13 players injured?
13, 14. So Sal Carlotto, Fezler are two big ones that are out. Liam Wright's been out for the entire time. Harry Wilson could be out. Harry McLaughlin-Phillips is out with a concussion. Matt Gibbon hasn't played all year. Massimo Ludis is out. I said Sal Carlotto, didn't I? I'm trying to just rattle through.
Been medically retired.
Frankie Goldsborough, who played against the Crusaders the last time these guys played, he's out. Isaac Henry hasn't been seen all year. Is there a loose head? I think Hodgman's might be injured. Is Hodgman
Sarah
Uru's injured. Tumunga Allen injured as well? No, I think Tumunga Allen missed their game. Because Nick Bloom. Oh no, sorry.
Tumunga
Nick
Allen's
Bloomfield.
back. He came off the. Tumunga Allen is back. He came off the bench on the weekend. Hodgman's injured.
Of course. Hodgman's the one injured. Yep. As you said, Uru. There's probably 2 or 3 more I'm missing. But yeah, their injury list is cooked.
Right. Crazy.
But again, still got quality. Still enough quality in that side to properly make a difference. And actually go over there and get a win.
Yeah, there's 19 Wallabies in that side, in the actual squad. Nearly half the squad is Wallabies, so I still expect them to be competitive. I don't know. I don't think I'm as convinced as you are, Nathan, that it's going to be a one-side shellacking. I think that while I do think
that. I said it was going to be competitive.
You said it was going to be rough.
I said it was going to be rough, but I still gave him a chance.
Come on.
They give him a chance.
What am I supposed to do with rough?
Nathan said it's going to be rough with all the injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I still think
Tahs fans coming to the support of each other.
I still think the Crusaders are going to win.
It's a brotherhood.
But, yeah, it's definitely not out of the question.
It's a brotherhood of pain. But
the Reds are paying $5.80. Crusaders are paying $1.13.
Yeah. I reckon it's going to be a much closer game than some may suggest. The problem with that match was that the Reds, I think they just really lacked a lot of. They lost a lot of. They didn't pay attention to a lot of key learnings that they had picked up so far under Kiss, which is when they play their own game, they are a really, really, really good side that are hard to beat. They're one of the best in the comp, and they fell hook, line, and sinker into the Crusaders' method and style of approach. And then there's also the mental aspect as well, which I was really hoping that they kind of would have overcome after beating them in Christchurch in 2024. So I think that they'll probably be aware of this, that they shouldn't fall into that style of play and game, because from a physical standpoint, from an aggression standpoint, from a cattle standpoint, they can definitely measure up to this Crusaders side. So I think it's going to be much closer than people expect.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Chiefs and Blues. So this is 1v6. As I said before, I just want to point out, because it's pretty funny, Chiefs have a points difference of 231.
They're the team to beat.
Yeah, which is almost like, I don't know the exact maths, but there's only 14 games in a year. So it means they've one-day games an average of what? 18 points or something? 17 points?
Yeah, sure. And that's with, 3 losses. Oh, it's only 11
3
wins,
losses.
So
throw in an 85-7 win as well. Like that would help. That would help.
I'd like to see the Blues win this just for banter value. How do you think it will go, Nick? I thought the Blues looked beatable. They didn't look irrepressible against the Waratahs.
I reckon this is the match of the round, to be 100% honest with you. Because it's defending champions, and I think that the Blues probably since, I'd argue probably that Force game, have really kind of hit their groove again in week 12. So after they lost to the Reds in week 11, which unfortunately is still the last time an Australian side beat a Kiwi side, they have they've actually looked like the team of old. They literally went to Fiji and beat them 34-5, which, you know, it gives you a sense that, okay, this team can actually come around and come good. I think this is going to be a match, like the match of the round, and I do think that they're going to come in and offer a good fight. But part of me is also like, considering how many times, as much as I hate, I don't want another Kiwi side to win it again. Considering how close the Chiefs have been in so many years, like it's like 4 or 5 years. Clayton McMillan is the most statistically successful coach at the Chiefs. He leaves Dave Rennie's record in the dust, and he still hasn't won a title. It kind of almost feels like karma for McMillan with him leaving at the end of the year, that this will be the year that he finally does it, because I think the Chiefs are the team to beat. I would still back them to beat the Blues at home, but I mean, the last time the two sides played, it was a thriller. It was a great game. It was like, came down to the wire in Hamilton. So I see them. I think it's going to be another one of them. I reckon we're going to have another thriller in the centre of New Zealand, of North Island.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to essentially what Blues team shows up. Like the Blues team, as Nick Hartman alluded to, that Blues team from the first half looked beatable against the Waratahs. They really did. That Blues team in the second half was the one that won the title in 2024. If that team shows up, they're going to push the Chiefs the whole way. If the Blues team from the first half and the first 30 minutes show up, the Chiefs will roll through them and tail defense over. I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah. I hope they both lose, if that's possible. Unfortunately, you know, the powers that be disallow that. And then finally at 7:30, down in cold Canberra.
God's country.
Boys, we talked about this a bit before. So the deal is Crusaders Reds are 2 versus
5.
No, 2 versus 5. Chiefs Blues 1 versus 6. Brumbies 3 versus 4. And so the way they've set this up is 3 winners go through and the highest ranked loser.
Correct.
Will go through. So to your point before, Nick, the Hurricanes are probably, I can't do the calculations right now, but probably going to play the Crusaders anyway.
I mean,
win or lose.
Potentially. I mean, if the Hurricanes win, if the Hurricanes win this weekend, they play I think they play the Crusaders, I'm pretty sure. Or no, they would play. They'd probably still play.
Surely the Chiefs play the lowest place team.
Yes, that's right. So yeah, no, that'd be correct. So it's effectively deciding who goes. Yeah, that's correct. It's deciding who goes where. But I mean, there is a possibility. That's why I'm keeping a real watch on the Blues Chiefs game, because if the Blues win, they would go through. The Chiefs would actually still survive, as they would be the highest ranked loser. And actually, because they're in first, all they lose as a penalty is a ranking position. So they'd still have a home semi-final, but they would potentially give up their rights to hosting a grand final, which means that it could suddenly turn into sudden death for the Brumbies if that happens. And if the Reds lose, we could have a situation where if the Brumbies lose as well, the two Aussie sides would go out and you'd have an all Kiwi semi-final, which I think would be god-awful after the season we've had.
Yeah.
So, no, I do not want that. I do not want that. We do not want that at all. I think the Brumbies will come out hungry. And also, because they lost to the Canes a few weeks ago, I mean, I was chatting with Tom Wright about this earlier today, and he was like, yeah, we're pissed. We're really not happy about how we went. We weren't happy about how we played, and we weren't happy with, there was a lot of disappointed folks. And then, we got the review and we realized, okay, this is what we need to do. This is the way forward. I reckon they're going to come out motivated. And also they've shown a good ability again this year to turn things around really, really well. There is no excuse. And what better statement to make it against the side who, as you correctly allude to, Nick, is probably the most informed team right now. The Canes have been smoking teams for the last 5 or 6 weeks. They've looked phenomenal. So statement making time here. And also it helps that there's a decent history there as well when it comes to qualifying and quarterfinals and the Brumbies beating the Canes in Canberra. So fingers crossed that is the case. I hope. I back the Brumbies here.
Hope and pray, please. If we have to go through all the positivity that we've had just to watch the Tahs get shit canned and Brumbies and Reds out in the first week, thank God, if that happens, we are a Lions podcast and that's it. Super Rugby is just a warm-up. You are getting a pod on the next week, which is just solely Lions focus. That's it. I can't put up with if that happens.
That Newcastle Premier League or whatever it's called.
Nath, I back. To be honest, no, there is a point now where I know that these two teams can play good rugby, and I have faith that they can put together a good performance. The improved results over the course of this year speaks in their favour. Yes, they have. My only worry is that they haven't beaten a Kiwi side since round 11 when the Blues went down to the Reds in Brisbane. But I mean, Canberra is a hard place to win. It is a very, very hard place to win. And I also back a Brumbies side that is pissed off. I back a Brumbies side.
Current temperature prediction feels like 0.6 a kickoff. Yeah. That's not nice. That's not nice.
Does it get that cold at the K-Tin? I mean, New Zealand's bloody cold, but they're at sea level, so
it's get windy. That's it. Those cop the
wind.
True that.
So no, I back the Brumbies to do a good job, and it also kind of feels sort of right that they would then go to Christchurch and play the Crusaders after the result from last week.
Fans the Reds if they get beat.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah. I think that's it for us today. Well, hopefully that scenario you outlined before doesn't happen, and some Australian team gets into the final. Hopefully, the Reds and the Brumbies both win, so we don't have to become a Lions pod. Because they'll probably fill me with dread, and we don't want dread, do we, boys?
Hey, positivity. Reds and Brumbies both win.
Yeah, holding on, and Western Sydney's second team. Okay. Named after all the kebab stores in Parramatta Road. All right, boys, thank you so much for coming on. And to our listeners, I hope, thanks for sticking around towards the end of the pod. I hope you enjoyed our pod. I hope you found it informative and funny and engaging. All right, everyone. Catch everyone.